Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the channel. My name's Tremaine and you're watching Talking Cars with T. Today you're in for a treat. As you can see, covered here is something really special to me and probably to you as well if you're watching this channel. So I think it's about time we reveal this because I know you're pretty anxious. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my 2001 Z3 M Coupe AC Schnitzer. This is my first ever M car that I bought. I bought this car about 9 years ago now, and it's dressed in the probably one of my favorite colors for this car. It's the Imola red with the black Napa leather. There's many nicknames that have gone around for this car. Some people have called it the clown shoe because of the silhouette of the shape in the front, reminiscing the shoes of clowns, of course. And the thing about this car is you either hate it or you love it. There's no in between whatsoever. Just to give you a little bit of statistics on this, South Africa, where I'm from, is the only country in the world that actually got this car. So there were 39 of them ever produced in the variant of the S54 engine, which is the 3.2 litre straight six from Bavaria. However, what makes it unique to South Africa is this is an AC Schnitzer version. So the AC Schnitzer version actually comes from BMW like this. They're not aftermarket add-ons and just some distasteful add-ons. It's really factory spec. So it comes around with the AC Schnitzer rims, AC Schnitzer springs, AC Schnitzer gear lever, handbrake, pedals, as well as the infamous S54 engine, and not forgetting the AC Schnitzer back box. So what I'm going to do in this video is go through the intricacies of the vehicle, show you the ins and out, take it for a drive. I'm sure you want to see that. And then at the end of it, we're going to do the all-important test. And what that all-important test is, you have to wait to watch the end of the video to find out. But like I said, this was my first ever M car that I bought 9 years ago. And always when I saw M cars or started falling in love with M cars, I always wanted to know the ins and outs of it. But you didn't necessarily have the access to see what these cars look like inside or what they look around. And on my channel, you're going to get that all access with all my M cars, which means this is not my only M car. So stay tuned to the channel, subscribe to the channel if you want to see all my further M cars and some of my other non-M cars as I take you through them in detail. So I think what we'll start with now is just taking you through the inside and letting you see what the car's all about. I don't think there's any more special way to be greeted into a vehicle than taking a look at these M side sills. And here we go. Those are the AC Schnitzer pedals. And then moving on into the interior, you've got the handbrake, AC Schnitzer as well. I can just get that to focus for you. There we go. And then of course the gear shifter. This is, by the way, a short shift as well. So you would notice when I do drive, the throws between the gears are quite close to one another. And here's something really, really interesting, is all the dials. I really like my cars 100% standard or 100% OEM. So you're seeing the factory tape deck, and those are the clocks that are shared with the E46 M3. And I want to take you through to the other side now, where I want to show you something really interesting in this vehicle. So while we get over there, just take a look at this interior. Absolutely magnificent. So these cars came fitted out from the factory with a fire extinguisher. Yes, that's right. So usually we know the troubles we have with our Italian friends or our Italian supercars regarding fires, but this car, considering the performance, actually had a fire extinguisher fitted as a standard option. And there we have the service manuals. My vehicle's got all the books and pretty much all the services up to date. And we've got to take a look at that net in the back. Absolutely superb. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the vehicle's exterior. So what makes the AC Schnitzer different as well is, of course, the rims. Here at the front, we're sitting on 225 40 18s, and at the rear we've got 255 35 18s. And you'll also notice something really interesting on these fins. The M badges. If you look at the M badge in an angle, you should see that it is curved. Just take a look at that. So that's a giveaway. On the side badges and on the rear, if you see it curved like it is here, you know it's an S54. So that's another trick for you to just figure it out. And of course, coming around, like I mentioned to you, these curves, absolutely fantastic. Please excuse, you are hearing Francisco, my dog, in the background, which we'll definitely be introducing to the channel soon. Once again, the M badge, the curve M badge, you should be able to see there. And the rear exhaust tips, AC Schnitzer. There you go there. And I think, you know, if you're standing here and you get to see that arch, absolutely beautiful. And here we have that monstrous, whilst beautiful sounding S54. Straight six, as you can see there, and of course the Imola red color code. I mean, this engine is absolutely magnificent. And that's what I mentioned to you guys. You don't really get to see the ins and outs of these M cars. And that's the purpose of my channel, is to really take you through everything as you would hoped and wished you had been. Just like me, when, you know, I remember when I was a little kid, I always wanted to get to know the ins and outs of these cars. But that M badge there really can go ahead and tell so many stories. So let's go ahead and take a look at the boot of this car. Those little clunks and clicks, it just takes me back to a time. Those sounds are so reminiscent of older BMWs. This has this cover that you just release back into there. And here's that net that I was mentioning to you. And of course, you've pretty much got ample boot space. But take a look at this little thing here. Yep, that's a original medical kit from 2001, still intact. More than enough space in the boot. And something interesting. Remember I mentioned to you the very special test that we're going to be doing towards the end of the video? This boot has something to do with that, so let's see what we have in store for you guys. This is the cold startup on the 2001 BMW Z3 M Coupe, the AC Schnitzer version. So take a listen to this. Okay, so here we are inside the M Coupe AC Schnitzer. I must tell you, these S54 engines, they were notorious for the rod bearing issues and the Vanos issues, but fortunately with the M Coupe, The engineers at BMW didn't allow the motor to rev as highly as the normal S54 engines that came out in the E46 M3. So the one thing you got to keep in mind though is when driving these cars, you've got to let it heat up, you've got to get the oil temperatures up, you've got to get your gears flowing through before you can actually give it a little bit of gas. Right now the oil temps are sitting around just below 100 degrees Celsius, so it's actually perfect. The car definitely is not a daily driver, I can tell you that. By no means can you jump into this and go to your meetings every day or do whatever line of work you're in. It's not meant for that. This is now what I would consider an absolute modern classic, from the BMW stable. It was an era of BMW when they made the E46 M3, the E39 M5. It was just, in my opinion, probably the most magnificent era of BMW. These cars, the AC Schnitzer version, were fitted out with the S54, which of course is from the E46 M3, but BMW dialed it down just a little bit because you couldn't have your flagship model M3 being overpowered by the M Coupe at that time. So these vehicles are 239 kilowatts. I don't know how much horsepower that is for my viewers abroad, but it's 239 kilowatts and 350 newton meters of torque, which, mind you, let me tell you something, that is absolutely more than you'll ever need for a vehicle like this. Of all my M cars that I have, I must admit this is the most scary, the most daring, and you really have to have nerves of steel to drive this car, even though it's got traction control. You're literally riding on the chassis, on the axle, and it's not a comfortable drive, I must be honest with you, but that's not what the car is built for. It's not built for comfort. It's definitely built, to be honest with you, for speed. But on that note of speed, something that you should know about me personally, I actually hate speed. You will really, or rather rarely, find me driving fast. My obsession with the M, or rather let me say the previous M generations, is more about the story behind it, more about what the cars represent, their looks, and just of course the age-old naturally aspirated power. If you take a look, we got a nice stretch of road coming up here. So what I'll do, I'll give it a little bit of gas, so you can just hear it a bit, but we've got a bit of traffic. It's a beautiful Saturday in Cape Town, South Africa. We're just about around the evening. And here's a nice GT3 RS. Lovely. I hope you caught that. It's a nice Saturday evening, just taking a bit of a drive. So let's give it a little bit of a pull. And as I said, more than enough power from this S54. If you take a look at the dials here, at the clocks, you'll see that I've got about just 97,000 kilometers. For a 2001 model car, I mean, it's now pretty much 19 years old. That's not mileage at all. However, I am aware there are some really low mileage S54 AC Schnitzers out there. I mean, in particular, I think there's a white one in Johannesburg that has next to nothing in terms of it. And I actually think that was the press car, biker, that was the press car that BMW used when they launched the AC Schnitzer version. If you noticed on the clocks as well, what makes the car different is it shares the E46 M3 clocks with this. As you saw earlier, I took you through everything in detail in terms of the interior. But let's just talk about something really, really interesting. Let's talk about the price of these cars. So I bought this car 9 years ago, and to be honest with you, compared to what the prices have come to now, I paid an absolute pittance for it. To give you an idea, these cars now, clean examples like this one, obviously, you know, there's much more cleaner examples out there, but I think my car is pretty clean. These cars are fetching upwards of R1,000,000. You know, to the true enthusiast and to the true collector, they really understand these cars and they really get it. To the novice out there, you know, they would see a normal M Coupe and they would see an AC Schnitzer version and they wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But yeah, these cars are fetching upwards of R1,000,000 now, which has proven to be a fantastic investment, and hopefully I can hold on to the car for, you know, the next 20-30 years, be that as it may, and pass it on to my next generation, so that they can actually appreciate and understand what the BMW M Group was about when they made these naturally aspirated vehicles. And also that, you know, that's a bit of a bad thing, because now that these cars have become so valuable, upwards of R1,000,000 in value, you kind of have to be so careful of when you drive it, where you drive it, which is why I roughly put on, I would say, give or take 500 to 600 kilometers on this car per year. I really drive it sparingly, but it has that emotions when you get that opportunity. When I jump into it once a month or once every 2 months, it stirs up those emotions and makes you look forward to the journey, or makes you look forward to the drive. And that's what I really, really love about these cars. You know, I don't care too much about the speed. I just love when you're driving it, you know, people admire it, people look twice, because when you see it from the front, you think, oh, that's a Z3. But then when you look at the rear of it, you know, if you do not know the car, you'll think and you'll say, oh wow, what is that? And especially in this Imola red, I think it just looks absolutely marvelous. So let's give you a little bit more exhaust notes. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. That naturally aspirated engine just comes to life. So for my viewers in North America and in Europe, you know, this version of the M Coupe is gold to them. You know, we've seen prices of these S54 in those markets just reach astronomical figures. You know, I think with my mileage, 97,000 kilometers, I think it's roughly, give or take, 60 or 70,000 miles. You know, I'll have to do the calculation, but that's considered low mileage. It's not the lowest out there by any means, and I do not claim for it to be that. But these cars are really, really special. I can only imagine where they're going to be in 10, 15, 20 years from now. Who knows? And I think it's a great story to leave people with, especially the youngsters who are now getting into the M brand, and they know that, you know, this is, in my opinion, the best M engine ever developed, the S54. So on that note, I will see you back in the Talking Cars with Tea garage. I hope you guys like some tea. This is green tea, so we got to keep healthy. So I think I want to tell you guys a little bit about me and my journey and how I actually got to the point of buying this car, like I said, 9 years ago. And hopefully you can subscribe to the channel and go ahead and smash that like button if you want to see more of this car, and of course more of my other cars to come onto the channel. But I think what's important as to the message I wanted to share with you guys. So I'm from South Africa. I grew up in a small little town called Pietermaritzburg in KZN is the province, and I didn't come from money. Literally came from a home of a single income provider. However, when you grew up in the circumstances like I grew up, which were very difficult financially, there weren't many opportunities in that town, and one had to, you know, swim or sink as such. So the journey for me now at age 34 has been really a tough journey, but absolutely a rewarding journey. Does a car define your success? No, absolutely not. Which unfortunately BMW has a bit of a stigma to it, maybe particular to South Africa, that it was always seen as a chauvinistic car, or, you know, not necessarily those who possess humility. But to share with you, I grew up in Pietermaritzburg, and throughout my journey, it was always about how do I get better? How do I succeed in life? How do I help others in life? And to one day, someday, as a boyhood dream, end up with my dream car. Yes, this actually was my dream car. So other guys would have Ferraris or Lambos or Porsches on their bedroom walls. I had this, you know, this and a couple of other cars that I have. And to actually have this materialize 9 years ago, I can't explain to you what that meant for me at that time. 9 years later, it still gives me goosebumps, still sends shivers down my spine. I can't explain it. Every time I jump into it and drive, there's always someone, to give you an example, when we went out on a drive, now I had to cut it out of the video, but there were two gentlemen literally pulled up next to me. The guy didn't even roll down his window, he's opened his door and literally said how much they are in love with this car and they can't believe how beautiful and stunning it is. And that happens every single time, without exaggeration. But I just want to give you guys some hope out there, if you're young or not, that even if a person like me from a single income home in a small little town like Pietermaritzburg can get to a point where I have somewhat fulfilled some of my dreams, you know, you too can do it as well. Yes, it's not easy. It is never going to be easy, but it is so worth it. And I want to change the stigma around owning an M car, change it from that chauvinistic mindset to rather enthusiasts and people who really care for these vehicles. And that's my little bit of a story. The more and more we go into more videos, you'll get to know me. And of course, ask the questions in the comments. That's the best way we can enjoy these cars together. So I think I'm going to finish up this tea and we're going to do that final test that I mentioned to you. So let's get rolling with that. Okay guys, now comes time for the ultimate test on the M Coupe AC Schnitzer, and that's to see if my fiance is able to fit into the boot of this clown shoe. Let's see if she's able to do this, guys. I think the car definitely passes the ultimate test, and on that note, please go ahead, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of my cars, and thank you so much for watching Talking Cars with T.